It's the Boris Dirk podcast, and we are back for our annual Dirkie Awards that we try to do at the end of every season. And Drew, my co-host, is joining me as always. Dealt with some audio issues, but he soldiered through. Drew, how you doing?
It's the first time in a long time anyone's had trouble hearing me, but I'm here. And we got Trill in the house. Trill, welcome back to the pod.
Well, thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. And as always, StreamYard audio and video issues are just built into the experience. So I'm glad that I pay $50 a month for it.
Yeah, we are following up our uproariously successful early season episode with Trill, where we drafted the strangest moments in NBA history, which as a Sixers fan, he had a unique perspective on. And we thought, who better to bring on for our end of season award show, kind of bookend the regular season here. So without further ado, we're going to get into these totally made up awards that are completely different from the totally made up awards that Bill Simmons just did on his podcast yesterday. Poor timing. But ours are better. So the first award is the You're My Number One Boy award for Succession heads out there. You'll know where that's from. Trill, I'm going to start with you. And I left these completely up to interpretation and didn't provide any guidance beyond just the name of the award. Who came to mind for you for this NBA season for the You're My Number One Boy award?
So I just finished watching Succession, by the way. Fantastic show. Absolutely loved it. So the timing of this is really perfect. I had a few different interpretations of this. My main one was GMs, coaches that can't quit certain players and just love them to death. You're my number one. I'm riding and dying with you. My personal choice for my own basketball viewing, just in general as a fan, was obviously Tyrese Maxey's bounce back season. Last year was up and down. The team was a mess. This year, the team was up and down, still a mess. But Maxey's probably going to end up making second-team All-NBA. Probably would have been third-team All-NBA even if guys were healthy and obviously bounce back after having a bad season. So just from my personal viewpoint, I'm going to say Maxey and his bounce-back season on the Sixers this year. Hopefully we can finish the season on a strong note and get a top 6 seed in the East. Fingers crossed. And then the two choices that I have for coaches that can't quit players. Chris Finch with Mike Conley. You gotta love a coach just never giving up on a super wash guy. And not only is this the perfect one, Mike Conley is literally the Mo from the Simpsons meme where they traded him and the whole fan base thought they were done with the Mike Conley experience. And look, Mike Conley had a great career, obviously really helped out the Timberwolves when he first got there, but it's physically just not the same. He's 38 years old now. I don't think that anyone would expect him to be, in tip-top shape. And they trade him. He gets traded again and then bought out, ends up back on the Wolves. And I'm watching the Wolves yesterday and he's playing real minutes for them to start that Hornets game. So I thought that was the perfect encapsulation of this award. And then just a personal Sixers one I had to throw in there. Nick Nurse and Kelly Oubre. I actually think Kelly has had some nice moments for the Sixers. He's another guy who had somewhat of a bounce back season, despite being a maddening player to watch every single night because of his decision making and overall just erraticness. But Nick Nurse thinks that he's Jaylen Brown, and I think the funniest possible outcome for the Sixers is either losing a playoff series or losing in the play-in because Nick Nurse literally cannot quit Kelly Oubre. Like, to the point where, like, he emboldens him like he is a superstar. Like he is going to be Jaylen Brown making first or second team All-NBA this year. So I just felt like those three really fit the bill here for this award.
Yeah. Drew?
Well, our crazy Blazers, like, I don't know why it took so long to accept this is who the guy is Ryan Rupert, who had a triple-double last night for the Memphis Grizzlies, whatever the hell their G League team is called is what we should be calling them. But Ryan Rupert was that guy for Tiago Splitter and Chauncey before him. I didn't go with that interpretation of this award. I just started rattling off dudes who have meant a lot to me this season. And one of them is a former Sixer. And this is a guy who I owe a lot. I went back-to-back in my fantasy basketball categories league, and a lot of it had to do with this late stretch of Paul Reed stocks.
Let's go.
Steals and blocks from B-Ball Paul. I've seen Japanese robots with cleaner shooting mechanics than Paul Reed, but for some reason, this guy just like, he's a wrecking ball. He does shit. I don't even know if he's good. I know that the Pistons are like 11 points better when he's on the floor. That's data baller, garbage time adjusted, but still, like, nobody's ever wanted to start Paul Reed. He's always had a cult following. He's been awesome for them in this late stretch of suspensions and then beef stew out. I wrote down Jordan Goodwin. I can't quit him. Insane little steals run, elite defense with Phoenix when he's on the floor. Precious, sorry, Max. I told you he was going to be better than Cat if you just gave him time. And but those are the honorable mentions. My number one guy this season, you have Maxey, I have Donovan Clingan. All right, he's up to 12. Awesome. He's up to 12, and 2 blocks. One of the best rim protectors on earth, one of the best rebounders in basketball. Super tough. He's still kind of lumbering around. He'll never be a smooth mover. But he's just got that Hurley magic, the same way like UConn just can't figure out a way to lose in the tournament. Good things are happening when the ball is near Donovan Clingan. His hands have improved. He's looking a little more coordinated, and the Blazers have fallen in love with him, rightfully so. I hope he's our center for a long time.
Yeah. Well, from a pure sort of fandom perspective, the Knicks honestly don't have a ton of people who would qualify for this award this year. Maybe Mo Diawara for like a real deep cut there as far as a number one boy looking in the future. But just as a generalist NBA fan going with a real chalky nomination here, just the fact that Wemby has been involved in every defining story of this NBA season, every defining positive story of this NBA season, makes him, I think, the defining figure.
Every non-Jaden Ivey story.
Yeah. Non-Jaden Ivey, non-aspiration, yada, yada, non-tanking. The OKC rivalry sort of breathing life into the middle of the season, saving the All-Star game by actually trying, driving media discourse and giving fodder for MVP discussions this late into the season. Even the recent duel with Jokic this weekend, which was one of the best regular season basketball games you'll ever see for everyone decrying the state of late March and April basketball. There certainly are some really horrific displays, but that one was about as good as you'll see for a regular season NBA game. So
special hoops.
He's the one. And it also really hurts me to say, but he's certainly not my number one boy, but there are a lot of people out there, perhaps Trill's co-host included, who would put this guy in there. Just the fact that Jason Tatum is back and already looks this good, which to me is, as an Eastern Conference fan, is really disturbing.
Wait, we aren't in the pit of despair yet. I thought you were going to talk about the Celtics for like 10 minutes. Oh, I will say on the Conley thing, Finch did come out a couple days ago. Like one of their beat writers asked him a good question, and he said that, yeah, having to wean Mike Conley out of the rotation this year, it was like the hardest thing he's had to do throughout his coaching career. And like, I get it, because yeah, that dude just seems like eternally likable. But
the nicest guy in the NBA, but also if you're, I mean, like trying to win basketball games in 20, like Bones Highland is just better than him. Like, I mean, like Io is just better than him. And I know yesterday Ant was out, so they didn't have a ton of options, but like, I think you're going to have to live with some crazy decisions from Bones. And you're going to have some ups and downs, but ultimately your highest ceiling is going with the younger guys that are more in their prime.
Yeah. For sure. McDaniels has been out too. So they're on some level, they're just scrambling to get guys on the floor,
they're screwed.
But outside of Wemby being one of one and like on the GOAT arc, it's an interesting time for these like 7-1, 7-2 plus guys in the league. It feels like there's a place for them in a league that felt like it was reducing itself to like, 6'8" switchability across the board. Clingan is here to stay. Edey, if he can just stay healthy, like really fits and has been kind of dominant. I'm going to have a Mara in my top 10 when we start getting down to it. Yeah, because it's just really easy to see him being disruptive, whether he plays 18 minutes a game or not.
We're returning to the Giants ruling the league.
and these are Giants who process really quickly. Like Clingan keeps the music going on offense. Mara obviously is a nifty passer. It's not like these are just Giants, who bulldoze people. They're Giants with basketball skills too.
Yeah, it's like the Andrew Bogut model, the protect the rim and facilitate our offense. All right, moving on to award number 2, the Princess Bride Pit of Despair Award. I'll start with you, Drew, for this one. Who or what popped into your mind as the Pit of Despair for this season?
Well, I started off just thinking about a tongue twister of missed prospects for me in recent years, because I'm deranged, and the first name that came to mind was Jeremy Sohan, because I've given up. I can't do it anymore. I can't strawman Jeremy Sohan. He's buried in the Knicks bench right now, and so he's now in the mix with Taylor Horton-Tucker, Amari Bailey, Dalen Terry, all these dudes that I really believed in who have not been able to.
Then
really
don't put Koa Pete in your top 10.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to.
Everyone who loved Jeremy Sohan is also telling me they love Koa Pete, and I'm like, look, I get it. It's just not. It's not going to happen.
I agree. I'm a sucker for those like tweener forwards who have some skills. But Koa Pete 3 has the arc of like an Ichiro Suzuki line drive single up the middle, and it's just hard for, like, at first I was like, oh, he's going to learn to shoot threes like Rui, because like he has touch everywhere else. Gonzaga Rui kind of looked like this. No, it's a long shot. But the real pit of despair for me right now is the fact that the Blazers paid $100,000 in tampering fees to trade Hansen Young, for Hansen Young when they could have taken one of Cedric Coward, Carter Bryant, all sorts of talented guys in that range this year. So it's not Pelicans trading their pick to the Hawks bad, but it really hurts, because even if Young Hansen works out in the NBA, he looks like he's going to be a second contract guy, maybe a second team guy. He's just so damn raw, and it might never come on defense. And then I'm just looking over at these other teams in the West who have found young wings who are just clearly going to be dudes in time. So
you also called it, like you were upset on draft night, and it doesn't make any sense when now your best prospect is Donovan Clingan. It's like, it screams a lack of belief in a player that you just drafted and could be the best player from his draft.
Yeah. And a lot of guys in Clingan's position probably would have been crying to their agent, crashing out, pissed off, because like he did enough as a rookie that we should have still considered him in line to be the franchise center. And all he did was come back and have an awesome breakout sophomore campaign. So credit to him. I don't know what's going to happen with Young. I know we've gained followers, and probably helped the new ownership group with the price of the team went up a little bit, just bringing in some Chinese influence at the last second. But we don't care about that. We want to win basketball games. So that's been painful.
Yeah. Trill?
So I just had a few teams here, and I don't know how you could choose. It has to be one of the Kings or the Bulls. Like,
I had them both.
Like, even with the Nets and their weird draft and everything that happened with them, like, you at least got to be like, well, at least they chose a direction, right? At least they chose, we're going to go into the tank for a few years. We're going to try to take some swings on guys that we might miss on, but they might have real upside. And while I wasn't crazy about pretty much any of their picks that they made, and although I think Jaeger Doman has certainly shown that he is an NBA player in a way that I didn't think that he was going to be coming into the year. The Nets at least have something to cling on to there. They're in a big market. They can create cap space. Like, the Kings are just like, their books got even worse because of the Hunter trade. Even with we all liked Nick Clifford in the draft, right? Neek was a guy that was just like, you gotta be pretty good from the jump.
Yeah.
If you're 23 years old. And I know that it's not the best context for anyone, but like, we're seeing it with Maxime Reynaud, where like he's at least showing it on offense, even though the defense is very, very rough. The offense has been encouraging enough the second half of this season that he feels like someone that is a little bit older that was able to prove his worth right away in the NBA. And other than that, like, you're praying for lottery luck at this point. We knew my whole thing was coming into this season, I was like, this was the best case scenario for this team, where they didn't accidentally win too many games in January and end up with like the 9th best odds or something. I knew it was going to be a disaster from the jump. It just feels like this team can never seemingly get something right. And I said this on the podcast, but we're staring down the barrel of if they draft one of these point guards, whether it's like Wagler or Acuff or one of those guys, they're staring down the barrel of drafting 3 of the best offensively tilted point guard prospects in a decade. Like, how do you do that with Fox, Halliburton, and one of those two and not have any sort of competitiveness on this team on a year-to-year basis? Like, they've had one good year. If you really want to stretch the definition of a good year, you could probably say 2 good years in the last handful, really the last decade. And they're just continuously in piss and shit and kind of like just the laughing stock of the league, basically. And then the Bulls, they fired their front office today. I mean, same general concept, except I actually kind of like, I think the Kings might have even outdueled them this year because they realized that if the league is really going to change the tanking rules, that like we kind of have to go all out and be bad this year in a way that it took the Bulls because of their hot start. It kind of took them out of being in the top 5 or 6 for draft lottery odds in this draft. And this feels, because the top 4 just feels so special to me in this draft, it was really important that you got down towards the bottom and have a chance at one of those 4 guys that could potentially, change what happens for your franchise. And the Bulls were just too late to the party. So those are the 3 teams, and really the top 2 being the Kings and the Bulls, that I feel like are the most in despair.
Yeah, actually, the Bulls now have the one guy who couldn't take minutes from Mike Conley in Minnesota, Rob Dillingham. The Bulls have, by the way, and we said that on draft night, that was a nightmare of a pick to trade up for Rob Dillingham. He had an electric Kentucky highlight reel, but he's just too damn small. You don't trade up for those guys
at the combine. Like,
you don't trade up for those guys in 2024 or whatever.
In a weak draft,
Rob Dillingham, Yuki Kawamura, Leonard Miller, Mac McClung, Lachlan Olbrich. These are guys playing 10 plus minutes a night right now for the Chicago Bulls. It's really dark. Everyone loves to say, like, what a franchise, what a market. It's so sad. It's been like this latent superpower, but forget even like getting back to relevance. Like, we just take it for granted when teams are stuck in quote NBA no man's land with, DeRozan and a Zach LaVine, like whatever you're doing. As a Blazers fan who had to deal with a lot of shit after we traded Dame, I'm so fine with rooting for a 40-win team at this point in my NBA fandom. And I think that like we told some dumb people on the Bulls to send them into absolute despair. And there's something so beautiful about Adam Silver just dumping his bag of ideas that he hasn't enacted but says are coming soon, just in time for teams to like make it even more egregious at the end of the season.
Right, I was gonna say, and just like panic and be like, "Oh shit, we got to be really bad now."
Yeah, it's end of the world vibes. They're looting now for an extra tankage.
The Bulls really have been like dysfunctional. The degree of their dysfunction, I feel like, has flown under the radar for the last 15 years. Like they've only been,
but no one else will.
It doesn't like seep out into the national media, I think, which is crazy because it's a top 5-4 market in the league, and they're just kind of allowed to be horrible and horrifically run without anyone in the media like paying any mind to them, really. There needs to be more public lambasting of the Bulls is what I'm getting at.
One last thing on that. People have said like they're worried because when they had the Garpax front office, they were like, they didn't think it could get worse. And then you look back at Garpax and you go, oh my God, like they actually kind of like, they were actually demon drafters. They were like, they had some misses in there for sure, like everyone does. But like even their misses like were a little bit understandable. Like Denzel Valentine was a miss for them, I think, but he was like National Player of the Year and like was super productive and was athletic. And then you had the Lowry Markkanen. They just had to be patient. Zach LaVine was a good pick for where he went in the 2014 draft. Jimmy Butler was an end of the first draft. Like they were actually really good at that. Like there was nothing that this new front office was good at. The Buzelis pick is really the only thing that they can kind of hang their hat on as something to build on moving forward.
But they're an example of a team that's bottomed out and maybe should be taking the Nick Cliffords and the Tristan Da Silvas of the world, because even now they hit with Buzelis. He might end up a star and they're still so far away. They don't have any ancillary pieces to like foster at least like an auspicious environment for like a young, really talented player like Buzelis. So it's like they need to hit like Noah. 3 picks.
I didn't like Noah in the draft. I didn't really get his whole appeal, but that swing after you took Matas was like, and like, I mean, I wouldn't build around Giddey, but if you have Giddey, like, it just feels like you're starting to add in ancillary pieces was probably the move. Like, you're right. Like, they probably would have been better off taking Carter Bryant there, or someone that just fit a normal role for them. And we'll see what happens.
That's actually Carter Bryant's a great call too, because he's got like the high 3-and-D floor, but also might end up being a beast just because he's so athletic.
I think he was the next pick.
Yeah. But and Trill was referring to Noah Senge for our listeners who have social lives. Max, hit me.
And the other team that I would throw in the pit of despair too is the Pelicans. Just, you know, the Derek Queen for their unprotected first round pick trade this year. It looked like we had Brett Usher on the pod earlier this year, and he flirted with the idea of like Queen will make that trade look like a win for the Pelicans. It was looking really fun early in the year, and the other shoe has kind of dropped in terms of just like Queen still has a really long way to go on defense. And there's
scouting report got out.
Yeah, he's a really interesting player, but there's a reason that he was available in the teens. And now, you know, they're stuck in this position where they don't have their premium blue chip pick this year, and they still have Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver running their front office for God knows how long, and they presided over the worst period of Pistons basketball that we've seen, and they turned it around as soon as they got rid of them. All right, next award. I could have been a contender. Trill, who could have been a contender?
I kind of think there's only really one team when I sorted through all of this that I feel like has to be kicking themselves for the way their season went, and that's the Orlando Magic. Like, they make the Desmond Bane trade. Obviously, like, I think that you guys were a little bit ahead of the curve when it came to, I know that you guys weren't huge fans of Paolo Banchero, relative to some other young players in the league and kind of where their career was going. But it just feels like there was so much optimism coming into the year about this team. They had this disastrous injury year last year, and you get some good things coming out of this season too. Like when you could actually get all these guys on the court, they had a really good net rating, and it was for the second straight year. They only got like 150 minutes together with Suggs, Paulo, and Franz. And then you add in the Desmond Bane piece of it, and Anthony Black like looks like a real like additive wing that will be someone that might even have some more potential upside on this team. Like if this team could have stayed a little bit healthy and wasn't fighting for their lives, like we have 2 or 3 Magic fans in our Discord, and they're all like, it just feels like this is like another lost season. Like even if we get in and we play the Pistons in the first round of this, like we're not winning a series, and it's just such a tough pill to swallow when you have the Pacers coming back next year, other teams potentially taking a step forward in the Eastern Conference next year as well. And this year seemed like a wide open conference, and you have the skilled wings, you have some more shooting, you have a good blend of guys in their prime and young guys that could kind of withstand the regular season and carry it over into the playoffs. And it looks like they're either going to be losing in the play-in or getting stomped in the first round. And that's just a really tough pill to swallow, I feel like, for a team that I had as like my 4 seed coming into the year and thought they could win a playoff series at least. And it's just kind of looking like another year just going nowhere.
And it's also so weird because like Bane's been awesome, but he's been having like a career year, and Anthony Black has broken out in a real way as like a potential future like star level player if development continues to go his way. And yet still it just has felt like such a disheartening season for that team's future.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to get really dark but like we only have so many years on this earth. Like it sucks rooting for teams that punt on seasons. Sixers fans know, Blazers fans know, now Magic fans know way too well. Like just being told like this isn't the year. Actually, we thought this was going to be the year, but now it's next year. Like it's really fucking painful. I'm filled to the gills with microplastics. I don't know how much time I have. And I just
Are you looking at the global conflicts right now?
I mean, I work on the 62nd floor of the World Trade Center.
Yeah,
so like,
you know. You can't forget when you're there.
I can't keep finding out that the rebuild is one more year than I thought. I can't do this anymore. I mean, we get one season a year.
Quick question: in your heart of hearts, would you rather have them get stomped in the first round as the 8 seed and get Klingon some playoff reps and see what these guys look like in that setting, or would you rather keep the pick because I know it's lottery protected?
Ooh,
give me the games. Give me the games. I want Scoot and Klingon to feel that level. I want them to feel the pressure. I want us to get dusted by the Thunder, or give me like heroic. You remember the year that the Thunder lost in the play-in to Brennan Ingram? It was like a Shea Brennan Ingram duel.
Sure.
It was the year before the 1 seed. And they keep their pick. It was actually ideal because like they get that like nice little experience and then they stay in the lottery. That would obviously be like
Case and Wallace they took, right? That was the trade back in the
They technically drafted, I think it was the pick that became Derek Lively, traded it for Kaysen.
Yeah.
But that was a perfect GM's dream, like to get your young guys those minutes and keep your pick in the lottery. I don't know, dude. I'm sick of the picks.
Who would be your target if you were like, are you like a Phylon guy? Are you into like,
I mean, is Mara gonna fall that far? Because like, let's keep going. He can be,
no, right.
5'7" guys.
Sense for you. Just go, double big.
I have my board tab open at all times. Let me see what I got.
I feel like Morez could be a guy that you'd really love there.
Morez would be nice.
I really like Cam Carr from Baylor. He's a guy who can play for a lot of different teams.
His combine measurements are going to be huge for me because if he's really his listed weight, that's 175 pounds. Like, what is that? Like, that is for someone who's like 6'6", 6'7". Like, if he comes back at the combine and he's like 185, 190, then we're cooking with gas.
But he is going to have like a 7'2" wingspan. Like, I've never seen a 6'5" dude dunk that easily. All right, the guys in this range, I would love Thomas Haug. Again, just give me the 23-year-old who's an adult. I don't care if he's skilled enough to play in the NBA. Just give him to me. Alan Graves, Santa Clara would be a massive swing, but I kind of love him.
If he declares.
If he declares. Well, you mentioned Bane. Could have been a contender. I just am bummed about the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant is 26 years old. I know about as much about his current situation as I do Chauncey's. Jaren is 26. He is now having elective surgeries because the Jazz don't want him to play. Bane, 27, on an unfortunate lost season for the Magic, most likely. I just believed in this core. I didn't think this core was going to become a dynasty light, but I thought this team would make a Western Conference Finals with that threesome.
Grind part 2.
Yeah, it was just really fun. They really pushed the Warriors in that famous Ja series that ended up being the best Ja series we probably will ever get, at least in Memphis. Edie can't stay healthy, even though he's looked like a real hit when he's on the floor. And LeBron just took a dump on Memphis, golfing with the boys. So it's just sad because I went on Grizzlies pod before this season, and I think I just wanted them to like me. So I talked all about how they could redirect these assets. This might not be a total rebuild. It's a reload, and Coward's going to be great. And Coward has been looked like a great pick for them. But it's just insane that the clock's been reset the way that it has in Memphis, when just a few years ago, the vibes were immaculate. And now the vibes kind of couldn't be worse.
Yeah, and I know Keith from Grizzlies Pod probably was all about that. I know that he doesn't like this approach, but I think it's the smart approach, to be honest with you. Once Ja was cooked, it's just like, what can you do when your franchise player who looked like the future potential face of the league just has this extremely strange career? And I actually thought it was really savvy of them to pivot once they got Edie and Coward, and low-key Ty Jerome having this incredible season on a per minute basis. They're going to be right back in it next year. If they're going to have 2 picks in the top 20, I actually think that they're going to be a really quick turnaround here.
Yeah, and they might be 2 lottery picks because it's theirs and then the Orlando one. So that Orlando one could easily be a lottery pick. They get 2 shots at trying to jump into this top 4, which as I'm going through these draft prospects, when I'm like, what's the best situation that they could fall into? I keep saying Memphis because it's like they have that awesome complementary wing and said Coward. they have their like anchor at the 5 and Zach Edey. And then maybe they have Ja, maybe they don't have Ja, but that's just a really fun environment to drop like a Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson or whoever into.
They're such a blank slate too. Like
yeah,
they're one of the few teams. Like I keep thinking about these teams that are like gonna have to make a decision because the strength of the guards in this class. Like you're like, are we really married to this guard? Like, are we not? Were we gonna pass on a player we think has like potential all-star upside because of the guard we currently have at our team? They don't have to worry about that. There are a few teams that just don't really have to worry about that at all. And I think that's a huge positive.
And blank slate, but not in like a Kings or Brooklyn Nets way where it's like there's literally nothing to support. Exactly. Like you have complementary pieces who can augment whatever you drop in.
Exactly. The process from their front office has been pretty sound. It's just the fact that this was the right way to go is pretty sad for them. And I just try to remember that, like, if they get Caleb Wilson and he ends up as valuable a player as like peak Jaren Jackson, like that's a big success. Even though Caleb Wilson's ceiling is sky high, he might end up better than Jaren Jackson. Like, it's just, we draft to get the talent that they already had, and it just fell apart for a few different reasons. But yeah, it could turn around quickly, and I hope it does, because that fan base has just been yanked around.
Yeah, I want to also throw into I could have been a contender discussion, the Houston Rockets, who are still going to win 50 games this year despite missing 2 of the most important players to their teams.
Probably a playoff series.
Yeah, if they get the Lakers, yeah. They're probably going to be a second round 50-win team despite the fact that they have not had Fred VanVleet, who's the only guard on their team who can both shoot and play defense consistently, and Steven Adams, who's like the defining factor of their offense with his just like absolute absurd glass eating. The fact that they've lost both of those and are still potentially a second round team is, I think, very impressive, even, considering how bad the off court vibes are right there and all the body language stuff. But if they had VanVleet and Adams, and I don't know if this front office is going to kind of stay the course in the offseason or make like a huge wild swing, but seems like they could have been a Western Conference Finals challenger if they had their full complement. And then also the Indiana Pacers, just going from Game 7 of the NBA Finals to literally one of the worst teams in the league.
Dude, these aprons are just like flipping teams' magnetic fields within like minutes. One injury, one player going through something. It's like all of a sudden you go from like one phase of your franchise's development to a completely different one. It feels particularly drastic right now.
Yep. All right, we'll keep it moving. Next award. Here's looking at you, kid. Trill, who came to mind for you for this one?
I mean, I don't know how you can not look at anyone but Con Knipple. Like, I feel like Con is someone who I really liked in the draft. He was like my underrated ceiling guy, where I was just like, this guy does everything well. He has an elite skill. He fits within the context of any great offense. He can make your offense better. He's just going to be additive on any team. And his defense isn't bad. Like, his defense is like, he's going to struggle with certain things in the NBA. He will get targeted by like quicker guards, and there might be some bigger athletic wings that he struggles with. But on the whole, I think he's like a solid defender for his offensive skill set and his archetype. And he's been, I actually thought about this. I was like, he's probably the best rookie guard since LaMelo, funny enough. Like, if you think about like the last few years in terms of instantly adding to a team and making them better, I feel like there hasn't really been a rookie guard that has reached that level since LaMelo. And then LaMelo finally gets this season where he gets to get healthy, and they're just this awesome duo. Add in the wing shooting of Brandon Miller and the offensive rebounding of Moussa Diabate, and you got a team that has one of the best net ratings when all of their guys are available, a team no one wants to see in the first round of the playoffs. And I think that they'll probably, if they make it in, I think they're going to steal at least a game or two, and who knows at that point. And I definitely don't want to see them in a play-in setting at all as a Sixers fan. Like, they can get hot from 3 and beat us by 40 in a play-in game. Like, that's just kind of how their team functions. We had to go all out to beat them at home in that game about a week ago. And yeah, I mean, it is literally the most exciting time in the history of the Charlotte Hornets. And Khan is a big part of that. Like I just, I think that you can't really limit his ceiling moving forward when you consider how good he's been as a rookie, even with some of his athletic limitations.
Yeah. And as a Knicks fan, certainly the Hornets are the team that terrifies me the most in the first round. Like, there's a lot of talk about a potential Knicks Sixers first round series, which I'm sure would be extremely stressful, but the Hornets scare me even more, honestly.
They kind of do what the Pacers do a little bit. You know what I mean? And that was a weird matchup for the Knicks.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to say. Their offense, man, when it's churning, I don't know how long these vibes are going to last, because I just need to see LaMelo like healthy and serious and engaged for like a slightly larger sample. But I've just turned on Hornets games this year and watched them absolutely maul teams from behind the 3-point line. Like, when you, especially Kobe White in the mix now, it's like Kobe White as your fifth option is a really dangerous scorer, elastic shooter. Miller's been good. LaMelo's like really reeled in some of the more wild aspects of his game, and just like his ceiling is still insanely high. This team, like if you told me they're the number one offense in the league next year, it wouldn't blow my mind if these guys stay healthy.
Yeah. The last rookie who I feel like came in and impacted winning this way was Donovan Mitchell when he went to the Utah Jazz 2017, maybe. And they were from the lottery and losing Gordon Hayward into beating that Russ, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony team in the first round. And that was an upset. People expected that Thunder team to take care of business in that series. Khan, Cooper Flag, obviously having an all-time regular season, and also hits at the second part of this award, which is not just here's looking at you in the sense of you're really good, but also here's looking at you in the sense of you're our only chance and you're our only hope.
I said this on the podcast, and I want to talk about this a little bit more when we get to draft season, but very briefly, the most important draft maybe ever for a rebuild coming up for the Mavericks.
Yeah.
They don't have their pick for the next 3 drafts after that. No,
they traded their pick next year to Charlotte for PJ Washington, I believe. They traded the pick to the Wizards for Daniel Gafford. A series of Grant Williams somehow getting him and getting off him, I think, involved losing picks.
Swap in there that I think the Spurs got.
They don't have control.
It really makes you think it's not only that Nico lost his mind, but he's also kind of like the narcissistic boyfriend who just wakes up one day after you've been madly in love and says like, we're never speaking again. Like, I don't know.
I said it's the worst. I said it's the worst trade in history because it not only makes all of your current moves and like everything, it makes everything that you did in the past worse too.
Yeah.
In a way that we've never seen before. And they got this lucky lottery ball in Cooper Flag that might save them from that, but they really, really need to nail this pick this year and like put a running mate with him for the future, because they got some talent and they can make some trades to kind of get some future assets and some younger guys in the door with that roster, but they have no one that they can pair with Flag for the future.
Absolutely.
And
because Lively is injured.
And they spent, like you said, they spent years optimizing for the least malleable MVP candidate in the league. Because he showed that with Reggie Bullock and DFS and Spencer Dinwiddie and a good rim runner, like he's that good. But I actually maybe didn't really value the word kid enough in this award, but I just wanted to shout out Jalen Johnson. Incredible season, and also really motivating me to like not be a dick when it comes to like young prospects who don't show the best maybe intangibles or play style or teammate-ness in college, which is why I've like really like been patient with DeBonsa, and I'm open-minded to Darren Peterson just being a great guy who's had a really rough year for all sorts of reasons. But Jalen Johnson crashed out at Duke. He's now averaging 23, 10, and 8. He is a jumbo creator. He just won East Player of the Month because the Hawks were 13-2. He averaged 22, 9, and 9, which is like, those are his season averages.
Isn't he like 4th in the NBA in assists per game? Like he's been incredible as a playmaker this year.
He's absolutely amazing. He's their number one option. He's the face of the franchise. I feel like his season hasn't been talked about much because the Hawks are like the Southeast Bulls, just like big market that can't seem to stay relevant. And I thought they were going to be great this year. Somehow they're like approaching their over-under number after all the shit they've been through. And he is the main reason.
I'm so glad that we got to see the world where Ben Simmons doesn't lose his mind, because this is what I always wanted Ben to be on offense when he was on the Sixers.
Yeah.
He's sort of the new, he's pioneering that archetype. And like, it's tough with draft comps when you get like a playmaking athletic 4 and you're like, there aren't that many of these guys that have existed. Like, is he Ben Simmons? Is he Giannis? Now there's another guy you can comp people to, and Jalen Johnson, which is nice. Like,
and by the way,
Wilson.
he took this extra leap with the Trae Young chaos early in the year and Dyson Daniels developing the yips from behind the 3-point line. Like, Dyson's awesome. I love him, but he doesn't shoot anymore. And he shoots like 50% from the free throw line. And Jalen Johnson's just been rock solid all year.
Yep. All right. Moving on to the Not a Great Plan award, which will probably have a little bit of overlap with the Pit of Despair.
I put the Bulls. This was going to be my Chicago rant.
Yeah, go for it, Drew, if you have anything to add from what we talked about earlier.
Nothing to add. I mean, they're playing Dillingham and Yuki on the floor at the same time. I mean, that's like new technology. Yeah.
Yeah. Trill, did you have anything sort of different for this? Or we could also
just to run through it quick. I had the Queen trade for that is just going to go down as an all-time bad trade. Yang for Coward, I also had on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you did get the future Orlando pick, which who knows, but Orlando
and we are going to beat the Thunder in the first round of the
playoffs. And then I had the Bucks for not trading Giannis and forcing him to sit out. Like, yeah, if you're not going to make the trade, okay, that's fine. Do whatever you want to do, but also don't drag it out. Don't bring it into the media. Don't upset Giannis. Don't do all of this. And make a kind of a clown show of it all if you're going to go down this road. So that was my choice for that. Yeah.
On the Queen trade, Drew always makes this point, and I'll make it for him. But if you like Derek Queen that much, just take him where you took Jeremiah Fears. Like, if you don't have to trade the best asset that you have to get him in the teens. Other thing I would throw into the Not a Great Plan award is the whole gambling scandal and Chauncey Billups and possibly Terry Rozier for just the whole execution of this scheme just didn't work out very well. All right, keeping it moving. The less you do, the more you do award. Drew.
De'Aaron Fox. Let Victor Wembanyama be the best player in the league. By the way, I'm a Fox hater. I can't knock anything the Spurs have done because they have a chance to win a title this year. So like, credit to them. They know that Wemby might be here for a great time, not a long time. And so just be as good as you can, like right away. He's already an MVP candidate. But I don't want De'Aaron Fox to be at all the Jalen Greeny guy. I could see him becoming for this team offensively late in shot clocks in the playoffs.
All right, that's mean.
No. And by the way, he's way better than Jalen. This is like very rich man's Jalen Green. If he just like, I have visions of De'Aaron Fox launching grenades, stepping into jumpers he could probably get with at any point in the shot clock, because he is a really good player and he's made some of those big shots in some of the important games he was able to play in Sacramento. And like you pointed out, the 1 or 2 seasons they were good. But
clutch player of the year.
He needs to understand that he is the Robin right now to Vic and maybe even Castle's Batman. It'll be interesting to see the way Castle's game translates to the playoffs offensively right now. Chances are he'll just be great because he's an awesome player. But Fox, just understand your role. More is less. And as a secondary creator, he'll probably be great for them.
Castle's probably a good choice for this award too, just because I feel like he impacts the game in so many ways when he doesn't have the like you don't have to be a star at all times. You can impact the game while being like more of like in the end of that Denver game. I'm like, this guy is just fucking everywhere. Where it's just like he's crashing the glass, he's getting into passing lanes. I'm like, he's someone who is going to have probably the most erratic postseason from the highs and the lows, just because of the shooting and the turnover problems. But then he's going to, I know he's a different player and he might even have a higher ceiling than this player if everything breaks right for him. But he kind of just reminds me of Drew Holiday, where it's just like, you know how Drew would have those like playoff games where he's like 9 for 27, but he's like a plus 12. You're like, he's so additive in so many different ways, but then he's also missing every single shot he takes until the end of the game and he gets on fire.
Yeah, like when Drew was the second best player on that FIBA team that like won in the Philippines, and it was KD and then Drew going like 8 for 25, but still must play because of the Bulldog defense. Yeah, like Steph Castle could stop shooting and still be your Casey Wallace, your Josh Hart. That's exactly part of what makes him so awesome.
It's kind of the Amen Thompson experience from last year's playoffs too, where you have some games where you're like, oh man, I don't know if they can get away with having him on the court offensively. And then you have games like I think it was game 7, where he was just like bulldozing guys to the basket every play.
You need him. I've seen that a lot with VJ this year as a rookie, where it's just like, even the games where he's 3 for 12 from the field, he's getting every single loose ball. He's getting offensive rebounds. It's a very interesting archetype of star role player, it feels like.
Yeah. Organizationally, I wanted to throw the Indiana Pacers into this because they are in the midst of possibly the greatest tank/gap year that we've seen since the Spurs got Tim Duncan. I don't quite understand how they're so bad this year. Obviously Halliburton being out and they've had some injuries, but it feels like a lot of times when I tune in or check highlights, they've got Nembhard on the court, Siakam, Nesmith. It doesn't seem like this team versus last team should be the difference between game 7 of the finals and one of the 3 worst teams in the league.
It's more at the start of the year, they all got hurt and they realized quickly, we just got to fold up the 10.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
But assuming they go into next season with one of these top 4 guys, Peterson and Boozer in their system would terrify me especially. And Zubats, who they just kind of got with this pick that they're probably going to keep, could be the greatest gap year that we've seen, particularly.
That lottery night's going to be a movie.
50-50
shot. They lose the pick.
It really is.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Is it really a 50-50 shot, though, if the Clippers are the ones getting it?
Well, yeah, I don't think the league would take away a pick they got in a trade, but we'll see. You never know.
What if the aspiration punishment is the Clippers get the 5th pick this year, but it's in exchange they're forfeiting their next 2 picks?
Oof. They don't have their next 2 picks, the Sixers and the Thunder.
No, right. I meant their 2037 picks. Yeah.
2030 and 2031 are the next times they have their own picks. Because the Sixers from the Harden trade. And then actually, funny enough, the Thunder got in there in the Harden trade, and we'll see. I don't know. Darius Garland looks fucking awesome for them.
Looks really good.
They might be a little bit more competitive than I originally thought. They seemingly always figure out a way to be.
Yeah.
But for mine, I had less and more you do. I just had a archetype. I kind of had the Pokemon evolution of this archetype of player. Mitchell Robinson being at the top, as in terms of he's one of the lowest usage players in the NBA, but he impacts the game on both ends because of the rebounding and just general dog in him. Moussa Diabate just a notch below him, kind of in that, and then my own version of this, the very version of these players in the Dembona towards the bottom, who is on a night-to-night basis a very frustrating player to watch, but the highs are very high, and the less he touches the ball and the more he just moves the ball and dunks and blocks and guards in space well and does all that stuff, the more I like him. So the less he does, the more I like him.
All right. Okay, moving on. We've got a few more left here. You either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain award. Drew?
Welcome to the show, Clyde Frazier. What a goofy country we live in.
Yeah.
Where it's not even like really more than a viral tweet that Clyde Frazier's like leads off coming out of a break. He had time to think about it. It wasn't even like old guy slip of the tongue. He decided, I've got a great bit for when we come back from this timeout. And it's that like we're killing civilians and Americans don't really know why. yeah, I don't want to take it all the way there, but and then the Giddy thing, which I don't know much about that case. But it's just why and at some point there's got to be something you can say on TV that gets you kicked off the broadcast, right?
He's doing podcast bits on.
Yeah,
he's literally just riffing with the boys and doing it on, one of the most watched teams in the NBA, and it's you blow my mind. Might start playing soon whenever Clyde's on the broadcast.
I was torn between two choices here. One is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I'm not sure if they were ever the hero. To me personally, I've always really enjoyed watching them, and I feel like I'm kind of in a growing minority, or a shrinking minority rather, of people who enjoy the experience of watching the Thunder. And part of it is probably because I have sentimental attachment to some of the guys that they've drafted. But it seems like the general consensus has become very anti-Thunder very quickly. Yep. So they are one. And then Giannis, who I don't know if he's quite the villain, but I said this on our last pod, I'm really getting like Dwight Mayer vibes from this whole situation, which for viewers and listeners who are old enough to remember Dwight Howard's exit from the Orlando Magic, it was a lot like this in terms of both sides not wanting to be the bad guy. And it just became prolonged to the point that he got traded way later than he should have for way less value. And he was kind of older and a little bit more kind of injured when it finally happened. And we never really got that good second act of Dwight Howard. I have a little bit more faith in Giannis sort of from a physical and mental makeup perspective that I think we'll still get that second act, but he's getting towards living long enough to see himself become the villain for someone who once had a pretty universal approval rating.
Agreed. No, I definitely agree. I would say versus where he was at 2 years ago, I don't really think anyone has tanked their image quite as much as Giannis, other than maybe post Thunder Kevin Durant. I feel like is the only one.
How long has Ja been struggling?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it's been more than 2 years, sadly. But
I was gonna say it's been pretty quick with Giannis, though. Like you said, universal appeal and positive ratings, I would say, across the board. I had John Horst on here only because I think if your job is to run the Milwaukee Bucks and put out a team that is competitive around Giannis, you didn't do a great job of it. And also you just kept making reactionary moves over and over again. And also it's part of your job to realize like when it is over. And I think that them trying to prolong this thing and continue it going is not making the situation any better. I talked about a little bit earlier kind of why it isn't a great plan. I think last offseason was the time to really trade Giannis after the Dame thing, and you spend all of your draft capital and blah, blah, blah. And they've even gotten like Ryan Rollins out of this and like a potential top 10 pick. And like, maybe you try to convince Giannis to stay, but like if he's not signing that extension, they're going to trade him. Yeah. And it just feels like you're prolonging this over and over again. The real guy that I think, and this is more looking into the future a little bit, that I think is going to get a lot of shit after these playoffs. And it's a player I really like.
Nikola Topic.
Yeah, I think he gets a buffer over this last year, just because of what's happened. But no, Donovan Mitchell is the player I think is going to be kind of the center of all criticism. Like I saw this with Joel Embiid on the Sixers, and I know Joel's a little bit more of a doesn't have the universal approval rating, but Mitchell has had this incredible start to his career where, like you said, from day one, probably one of the most impactful rookies we've ever seen, especially when you consider the leap that he made from his freshman year of college to his first year in the NBA. He probably doesn't get mentioned in the outlier development category quite as much as he should. And to go to Cleveland, to a team that was kind of like, competitive, but not really doing anything, if they don't win a playoff series this year, he will have won two playoff series in 4 years. They traded Darius Garland, and it just seems like to me that if he doesn't make a conference finals this year, which I would be kind of shocked at this point if this Cleveland team made the conference finals, it's not impossible by any means, but it just doesn't really feel like it's trending in that direction, that he's going to kind of be he's going to be under the microscope. And I feel like that's something that I didn't really see coming because he has really continued to make leaps and leaps throughout his career. But, make a conference finals, you start to get shit. And, I still consider him one of the 10 or 12 best players in the NBA, but I think that the narrative could flip on him. But he does have the buffer of James Harden on his team, which I think that helped Embiid a little bit. I think it's helped guys in the past when you have Harden as your teammate and he just doesn't show up for a game. Like, I love Joel, but like Joel didn't show up for game 7 of that series either. Like, he was terrible in that game. And I don't think that Joel ever gets shit because Harden literally might have been hungover during that game. So I think just when you see the levels that there are there, that might save Donovan Mitchell. But I definitely think that he could be the criticism, at least on, fans and people on Twitter at a minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have Drew? You already went for this one, right?
I did. Your boy Clyde.
Right. Yeah, I just wiped that from my memory. We got 3 more. A captain goes down with the ship for a player or team or entity that you are not giving up on, despite a lot of evidence to the contrary. Drew?
Oh, well, that's your interpretation.
I didn't take it as that either.
Sorry.
I took it as this. They're dying with it. But anyway.
Yeah. Do your interpretation then.
But you're a real poet. We all read your poetry differently. Yeah, Trill, you go.
I had the Miami Heat and this core and this team, and like the fact that they are just willing to go down with the play-in ship, where they're like, we're not going to make any moves. We're not going to, I know they made moves last offseason. They got like Norm Powell in the door and they drafted Kasparas Giacochonis and whatever. But like, they really are just kind of committed to this, like, our ceiling is making the play-in and losing in the first round every year post Jimmy Butler, really. And we're just going to wait until we get that next superstar. And look, with their history, it works out for them. But the thing that I just didn't really understand with them is, like, I think it's fine to do this, but also, like, if you're trying to get someone like Giannis, for example, like, would you not have been better off trading Andrew Wiggins and like trying to get like an expiring salary, or like maybe a salary that goes a little bit longer you could trade with Giannis and get an extra first round pick, or like trying to trade Tyler Hero, or like going and like at least like sussing out like what the value of these guys are around the league, so that you can make a more competitive offer for someone like Giannis if they become available. And it seems like they're just willing to go down with the ship and kind of just say, no, we'll get Giannis because we're the Heat. And I don't know, maybe it will work out. It hasn't worked out the last few times they've tried these trades, though.
And then they always come out sort of smelling like roses. Like, maybe they'll win around this year. It's probably a blessing that they didn't have enough to get Dame. Like, I don't think they'd be in better shape as a franchise, injury or not. Yeah, the Heat, they want to win 40 plus games. And again, like, I don't hate on those situations anymore. I used to love to make fun of these no man's land teams. And now I'm like, just let the Heat be my team.
I wouldn't care if they didn't come out and then blame everyone else when they can't make moves. That's my big problem with them. Like, don't leak to Barry Jackson that like a team is being unreasonable about this when it's like it's your job to make the other team say yes. The league doesn't operate to make the league operates to make the Lakers better. Let's be honest. That's the only team that gets bailed out every single time. Like the Miami Heat, like you kind of have to do what you do and make good trades along the way.
Yep. For this one, interpreting the award differently, I just put down Tatum for coming back from an Achilles in under 300 days. I've been a proud Tatum hater. This is just like pretty cool that in an age where guys are getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars and still are like, rightfully not always risking their bodies for the team, for the fan base, putting themselves first. Tatum put the team first. Under 10 months. This is uncharted territory for the injury. He's averaging 21, 10, and 5, subpar efficiency, but just the fact that he looks remotely like Jason Tatum is a pretty special return from the scariest basketball injury. While we're here, I just want to point out Jaylen Brown making the Celtics 8 points worse when he's on the floor this year. Do not tell me that means nothing. It doesn't mean a ton, but it means something. And
I just want to be clear. Like, if we're talking about when Bill Simmons comes on his podcast and says he should be up for MVP,
yes,
that's
exactly.
absurd. Like your team can't be better with you off the floor if you're winning the MVP of the league. That's just like, that should be like the number one requirement for winning MVP. Having said that, I'm totally fine with Jalen making like second team All NBA. I think his volume scoring has been incredibly impressive this year, and you still do need that to get you to the end of the road in some of these big games, and that's why Jalen has been kind of a little bit of an aura farmer in big moments in the playoffs. But like, you kind of need that guy that just is fearless and is willing to do, you know, whatever it takes to get you over the top. But I do agree that it's like it matters.
Yeah. I want to shout out for this one, and we've only got like 5 minutes, so I'm gonna keep it moving. For my interpretation of I'm not giving up, I'm still kind of irrationally scared of the Orlando Magic. I don't know what it is. I just, whenever the Knicks play them, it's such an ugly game, and Suggs is just such a troublemaker on the court in the best way, that I still have faith in the Suggs, Bane, Franz trio going forward. I think they need to reshape the team around those three guys. But I don't think this year is indicative that this is a completely failed experiment. I think it's still worth tinkering with from what you see at times. All right. This one we can go really quick on because I honestly don't have a great one for it. So if you guys want to shout at anything, they are who we thought they were. Trill, did anything come to mind for this one?
I'm sorry to double down on this, but I just said the Kings after their offseason, we all knew this was going to be a disaster, and it was. And the Bulls after their hot start, everyone was kind of like, this is Mickey, this isn't real. I remember being like, I'm happy for Bulls fans. At least you got some young guys, you got something to look forward to, and then everything kind of went into piss and shit. So those were the two teams I thought of.
I'd never heard the Mickey abbreviation, but I like it. I put down the Sixers. It is just as ambiguous and silly as I thought it was going to be.
Too.
I actually am kind of surprised that they're as good and as bad as they are. Like it is they are the ultimate duality.
But just credit to them for being healthy enough right now for like the fools to dream. Like I had to load up their ESPN depth chart, and like I don't see many red O's or D to D's. Like
it's the healthiest we've been in 3 years.
Yeah, like this team's very talented. VJ is awesome. VJ looks like a Josh Hart type of playoff winner already. This team is competitive, and they're kind of like, this is exactly how I felt about them coming into the year, and somehow they've given us reasons to hope just a little bit. But it's the kind of thing where like I have no idea what they'll look like in the first couple games of whatever series they end up with.
If they get into the playoffs, which by the way, that still is a question mark. This team, I've said it all year, this team can win any game. They can also lose any game. So don't count them out or don't count them in. You can't do either. But there will be, my prediction is we make it into the playoffs. Everyone picks us to upset someone in the first round. We win game one and we take a bunch of games close, and then we lose the series in round one. That just feels like what this season is destined to have. Oh man, they pushed the Knicks to 6, or they pushed the Pistons to 7 or whatever, but they lose the series because those teams just have more good. You said we have talent. We do. We have 4 players that we can rely on a night basis. One of them is Joel Embiid, which we never know health wise. And then the other one is VJ Edgecombe, who I love, but he's also a rookie. Like I really can't fully buy in with this team just because of those reasons.
Paul George came over and just turned you into East Clippers this year.
It's unbelievable.
Like, they can win any series because of your top end talent, and also you'll probably lose very reasonably in 6.
Yep.
Have some good moments.
For this one, I had the top 4 of the 2025 NBA draft, which we thought was going to be awesome in terms of Flag, Harper, Khan, and VJ, and all 4 have delivered.
I think they've been better. I think they've been better than I've thought. Like they are all incredible for different reasons.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, the last award, the It's Not Your Fault award. Trill.
The entire Indiana Pacers organization. Zach Edey injury. I was hoping that he was going to have this season where he just really broke out, and it looked like it was headed that way, and then he got hurt. I hope it's not a lingering thing. And then I had LeBron and Steph versus Father Time. Like the injuries are just they're going to get you when you're in your late 30s and early 40s. And we still have these moments where they're incredible, especially Steph. We still have stretches where Steph is amazing, but he was out for the longest period of time in years. And I don't think that either of these guys are going to have any sort of at least late postseason victory lap anymore in their careers.
Yeah. Drew?
Kawhi Leonard. He's never averaged this many points in a season. He's played 60 plus games, 28, 6, 4, 2 steals, 63% true shooting. He literally said a few weeks ago that this was a gap year for the team because they traded vets for younger guys, and has had like his best offensive season ever. It's like vintage superstar production, and he's been healthy. It's just like a sneaky, amazing Kawhi year. Yeah.
And it makes you think about what we've been missing since 2021, basically, in terms of having this top 5 player in the league just kind of take 4 years away from important games. I had Pascal Siakam, and I also had Steph Curry. So those kind of both get folded in to what you were talking about, Trill. Siakam just continuing to have a great year, and that Pacers team just holding all their chips for next year. And then Steve Kerr and Steph Curry, you can kind of throw Draymond in there too, although you could argue some of this is his fault.
But I want to see them. I know it's a very long shot that they win 2 play-in games and get into the 1-8, but I would love to see them versus OKC as like the swan song for Kerr, because I think Kerr's gone after this year. And
really?
I mean, his contract is up. They haven't discussed. I think he retires. Like, I think that this is kind of the end of the road for him. Maybe he signs a 1-year deal. Like I think he literally did a 1-year extension before.
Yeah.
Just to like see it through with like the Jimmy stuff. And like, if they lose in the plan, maybe they'll get a lottery pick and they can add someone to the core, similar to kind of what the Sixers did, to be honest with you, where it's like an old aging core. And they just add in, like a BJ Edgecombe type or someone that they could get in this draft lottery. Hans Steinbeck would be something, would be someone who's interesting for them. I'm just thinking every time I think about them, I'm like, they just need to add size. Like every time like Jabari Smith was just destroying them last night. And like, Jabari's a fine player, but like he only does that to the Warriors. Like, there's so many guys. It's just like, if you're 6'8" and you're generally skilled, you're going to have a career night against the Warriors. And I would love to see them just add like a little bit of size and then hope that Jimmy can get healthy next year and be a competitive team in the West. But I definitely think their window is done.
Yeah. Their only shot from this point on is lottery luck or just draft pick luck in terms of hitting in a really big way on someone around the 8 to 12 range. Maybe they jump into the top 4 and end up with Cam Boozer, which would would be incredible.
I mean, that you think about the fits for Boozer. It's like that Indiana, like where he's just like an old, like basically what Khan did with the Hornets this year, where he just goes in and he's just instantly an additive player and is just making everything pop and work on that team. That would be, and he's, I mean, it goes without saying, he was the National Player of the Year, but he is just the most obvious underrated ceiling prospect I think we've seen in quite some time, even with some of his own athletic limitations.
Absolutely. And the last thing with Steve Kerr is if he could retire and go back to being the best on-air commentator that we have, it would be great for generalist NBA fans.
Yeah, definitely. He's just good at everything he does, kind of.
Yeah.
Like I mean, maybe Suns GM tenure aside, although people swear in the organization. Steph himself said it, I think, that he wanted to draft Steph there. So
yeah. All right. Well, we lost Drew because he had to run. But those were the 2026 Annual Dirkie Awards. Appreciate everyone who tuned in live for this one. And thank you everyone who made it this far. Trill, thanks so much for coming on. Pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back soon. Peace.